Alongside his literary career, he has also worked as an actor and in theaters in Nigeria and Great Britain. His works also include poetry, novels, essays, etc. Soyinka writes in English, but his works are rooted in his native Nigeria and Yoruba culture, which each legends, tales, and traditions help him in that form of inspiration. His writing also includes influence from Western traditions, from classical tragedies to modernist drama. This evening, performance is to commemorate Paris Confraternity 70th anniversary. It's for the Soyinka's latest addition to World Literary Enterprise, titled The Wheels of Justice, which no doubt is the playwright's latest dramatic expert, loaded with practical anecdotes. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we hereby present Professor Wole Soyinka.
Of dignified and truthful existence and the abuse of technology. We live in an age now, especially in our country called Nigeria, of techno-mobbery, in which just a handful of people, by creating, which is a fact, by the way, my son is very good in technology, he's been working on this for me, plus other people, of course, but I'm just saying that even if Wole Soyinka is technologically literate, I do have experts from this. And they've been informing about the existence of what I call repeater stations by the techno-mobbery protagonists, in which you just give a signal, and within 5 or 10 seconds, lies are being circulated right around the globe, seemingly from all over the globe, but actually working from a bunker, a factory, underground factory, in which these lies, the fiction is spread all over the world, and it becomes an industry. Everybody reads it, sees it, believes it, because it seems to be in real life, in real time. In actual fact, it exists only in the Russian territory. Now, in the PC, we have people, as you know very well, from all walks of life. We have business people, we have some of the most unbelievable surgeons all over the world. In the States, we have scientists, technocrats, technology geniuses, some of whom work with NASA. As you know, I'm a space nut. I follow what goes on in NASA. I visit any opportunity, I visit NASA. You know, it's the highest level for me of technological advancement, advanced magic of humanity. And I think that one of the things which the PC can do for the benefit of humanity, even for itself, is to tackle this menace of techno-mobbery with advanced repeater stations, pretending to be all over the world, but actually sitting in a wormhole where they dispense the most nauseous, abominable fiction about human beings and events. These technomobs create some of the greatest dangers to the world, and especially to Nigeria. That's one. Do you want me to pause here while you to the other concern? I don't want to be the one talking all the time. I want this to be more a discussion.
Yes, thank you, Prof.
Something you remind me, I still have yet another issue, very critical.
Okay, go ahead, Prof, so that we can really make most of this, now that you're in that trajectory. It's just that some of us, as a diversion, technology is good, but some of us who are here today were looking forward to have a feel and the scent and smell of Professor Soyinka within our space. But unfortunately, I guess you were, for one reason or the other, you're unable to be present here physically. So those are the disadvantages of technology. It removes the spiritual connection, the magic of presence from conversations and communication. So you can go ahead still to further enlighten us on this futuristic aspect of the Paris Confraternity, your vision in terms of deploying technology, having cells of pirate develop apps or patented applications and all of that.
Create aspects of what I call a police state. Let's not be too let's not be excessive about praise. Sure. There are also dangers about the use of technology. You must recognize that. But it's fascinating and chastening. Really, it's a huge rebuke to stay. No, it's not the first time I've been in this area, but it's the first time I've actually been engaged in a prolonged sessions of teaching and, of course, learning. And so I'm very close to the relationship of technology in a society like this, in the relationship with the transformation, the modernization of society, and also the creation of dignity among human beings to a large extent. Once again, not saying it's a perfect situation, no. And I'm saying that there are lessons to be learned. Lessons to be learned about how the petrodollars of this kind of society has been used for the technological amelioration of humanity in this society. That is why many of our people, I run away from them, they are here. They retire here to, shall we say, to enjoy life, to get away from Nigeria. But it's embarrassing to find that in many cases, they don't really think of taking home, of transferring to their own area the lessons, the advancement, the imagination, the vision that has transformed to such a marvelous extent the society in which, the environment in which they find solace, refuge from the intolerable.
Yes, my question is very brief. I read an interview you granted, I don't know whether it was a French journalist, I can't remember clearly, where you were talking about the fact that you will not write any novel anymore because it was not for you.
Repeat.
Okay. Yes, I read an interview you granted recently. Can you hear me? You granted an interview recently to one foreign journalist. I believe it was a she. I think she was French. And you were saying that you were done with writing the novel because it was not for you because of some of the imposition of energies it had on you, and that you were for the drama. But the issue I want you to interrogate is the fact that you said you loved drama rather than fiction because in drama it never comes to an end, and that you can have different interpretations and so on, but in the case of the novel, it is over, except perhaps if it is showed on film. But I want you to talk about the fact that a novel can also, like drama, still go on and on and on because it lives on the imagination. Like a novel, the interpreters can be interpreted many ways for another centuries, except that it may not be on stage, it may be on the level of the imagination. Thank you.
Prof, did you get that? Well, delay.
Okay. First of all, I have enormous respect for those who've chosen the novel as their medium of expression. To wander into the novel medium for me is okay. Step in or step out as fast as possible, because it's very laborious and very taxing. Taxing in the sense that with the novel, which is prose and which is almost, which is in fact far more ethical than a theater can be. You are constantly being tempted to expand even the physical horizon, just from the fact that you want to follow your characters anywhere they want to go. And sometimes they want to drag you out along, even without your consent. And you have problems just keeping them in check and keeping them in a tight, manageable situation. And because a novel is basically discursive, it means that sometimes, very often, you lose thread of what your characters are doing, what they are saying. It requires a massive concentration. That's number one. Number two, with a novel, once you've finished it, that's it. If you're lucky, your film director will pick it up, and then he will either mix it up or perhaps even give a totally new interpretation of what you wrote, and which then becomes illuminating even for you. But there's no compensation if you're messed up as a novelist, or you have to write another novel. In the case of theater, you can say, okay, this interpretation was the time, and you forget all about it. And another time, somebody else directs it, and that may be your play. And you also, if you also have some hankering for directing, you can at least give yourself the solace of directing or misdirecting your own play. A novelist doesn't have that kind of privilege, and this is one of the reasons. And for me, the theme which preoccupies me in my plays is a constant theme. Variations, of course, naturally, but I have a constant theme. And very often I feel I'm playing variations on the same theme, which means I take liberties and reinventing, recreating. No two productions of any of my plays in my life have ever been the same. And this has not been governed merely by the accessibility of actors, environment, etc. No. I always go to it like I am doing something novel. A novelist doesn't have that privilege. So it's not just a question of, it's not just a technical issue. It's not just a question of the fact that people read more novels than plays, which would then tempt one towards the novel. No, it's just the format. The format is closer to my temperament, which is one of constant recreation, constant reinterrogation of themes which actually bother me and which I can play with, fight with on stage.
Thank you, Prof. We'll take one or two more questions so that we can move on to the next item on the program. Any other question? Please come forward. Try and make it very short so that Prof can comprehend what you're saying, because if it's too lengthy, the audio challenge is always
Good afternoon. Good evening, Prof. My name is Henry Akubiro. I'm the assistant editor of Saturday Sun newspaper, and also a novelist, playwright, and poet. My book, Yam Tarawala, The World Walking, was recently shortlisted for Nigerian Prize for Literature, NNG. Prof, I have been to your house. One thing caught my attention. There was a sign that said, all trespassing vehicles will be shot and eaten. Can you please explain to us what you mean by that? All trespassing vehicles will be shot and eaten. The first sign when somebody goes to your house. Can you please explain to us what you mean by that? Thank you, sir.
Prof, did you hear
Well,
that Ogun wants to eat blood?
you know, what do you want me to say? You come to your home, your retreat, your sanctuary, and what do you find? At the time anyway, not any longer, you find a family having a picnic, you know, on your grounds. I admire them on one hand. I admire those people for loving nature, for, you know, for sharing my own indulgences. Yes, on the one hand, and of course I like children, and seeing children playing around. But I've come from a long journey. I've come from a series of engagements. I just want to get into my sanctuary, sink into a bottle or two, put my feet up, read, work, not host people, and they park all over the place. So I had to devise a means of frightening people without actually eating them. So the signboard says, I will eat your vehicle. It means that I'm not a cannibal, I'm not going to eat you, but I will eat your vehicle if you don't let me have my peace when I come home. That, by the way, I don't know how when last you were in that area, but it's also been partnered by another sign, which is very different now, which is very literal. And it says, this is when I had the attack of these cowherds who are beginning to trample over my property. I don't use fences and things. So I had to put up a notice in that trespassing cows will be tried. Did I put tried? I can't remember now. Okay. At least will be hanged. And did I put barbecued? No, that was a mistake.
You insinuated something like that. You didn't write barbecue.
That will be hanged. But then I wrote a note to the ballet, and I think to the police also and to the neighbors, that any time such a hanging took place, they are invited to come and join me for a session of suya. So that was a definite threat. That was meant very literally. Unfortunately, since then, there's been no trespassing.
Well, there's another question here, which has to do with the migration. I know you're really concerned about migration, you know, crossing the Mediterranean, blue, and all of that. What do you think about this Japa syndrome? It's I mean, that's the slang for it, Japa. People leaving the country for so many reasons, and some as bizarre as, you know, people lying that they are being tried for being gay, and then they got there and impregnated other women, and now they are no longer getting asylum. So what do you think about this Japa syndrome?
That's a very large question, very large question.
It's
a question that goes to responsibility, leadership responsibility. As you know, I've been involved in the whole migration issue. It's not just Nigeria we're talking about now. We're talking about our fellow beings on the African continent, drowning in the Mediterranean in droves. We're talking about those perishing in the desert. We know that a totally new phenomenon of slavery is going on, and that even Nigerians are offering themselves as slaves, or else being compelled into appearing on the slave market. And I say market, well, ask special advisors to government, diaspora and migration. And you know that what I'm talking about is a real tragedy for all of us. So that's one set of Japan, which for me requires urgent, concerted action, and not the kind that is going on between Great Britain and Rwanda, which I find shocking. and which requires very serious attention. Maybe something for the parents also to look into. But then there's the individual Japan. People just get fed up with Nigeria. They see that they have no future, and they have the opportunity, they have relations on the other side, and they're looking for just a means of finding fulfillment one way or the other, which applies to everybody, by the way, but in this particular case, I'm talking about those with some skills. That's another kind of discrimination, because we're talking about brain drain, real talented people. So on all levels, I've advocated and it's a responsibility both for the nation from which the Japan take place and the reluctant and sometimes just gracelessly accepting hosts. There should be a continuous discussion of strategies to end this reduction of our humanity, because if we lose humanity, it's really diminished in this way.
Thank you, sir.
It's economic, we know that. But then we also know that it's a result of power tussle, of dirty politics, meaningless, selfish, egotistical politics. We know it's the result of internal wars on various levels. When you talk about the internally displaced people, isn't that another form of Japan when you become a migrant in your own country? And here you have these crazed religious extremists who decide that they want to wage war, even on their own environment. They drive people to displace people, and people, once they start being displaced, you might as well keep moving across the border.
Thank you,
So it's a
Prof.
very serious issue, and
Yes.
it's one of leadership concern, and we must compel our leaders to come together and solve this on the many levels that are required, that are concerned.
Thank you, Prof. If there's no other, because we have to move to the next program now, you have a question? A very brief one, please. Prof, one more question and then we'll allow you to enjoy your evening and have some wine. If they are giving you wine here, should I keep it or I take it? You go ahead, take it. Where's the question? Is it here? Okay, one second. Okay.
My name is Tunde Adeleke. My prof, happy birthday once again. My name is Tunde Adeleke. I'm a mass comm student, but I want to confirm, where do you expect to be in the next 10 years? God give you grace. Are you still writing or you want to retire?
Prof, let me help you. You should think of where you'll be in the next 10 years. Prof will be 90 next year. You get? So I think they tend to forget the next bus stop that, But if you want to answer that question, he's waiting. Did you hear him, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
No, if there's not enough time, I know we can spend the whole night here. If I reserve all night for you, because I know you're having lovers, and from time to time we should indulge them, but I know you also have another item, so
Yes,
this
yes.
is the last question.
Okay.
Repeat it. Let's go to your next item.
Yes, there's somebody online that I want him to explore technology. Kunle, somebody is online. He wants to ask you a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Let him go ahead. Yeah. Or her.
Prof is waiting.
Good morning, Professor Wole Soyinka. Good morning, Oluwajayi. I'm by name Kunle Oyadoyin. I'm calling from New Jersey. It's a privilege for me to have been on this series of educational session. My question is this: on the wheel of justice in court, to relate to National Association of CEDAW. How do you stand for justice in a system where the leadership
I can't hear anymore.
Wait, we can't.
How do you stand for will of justice in relation to the association which we all know you stood for? You were part of the pioneer that established it, but the internet moggers, in quotes, in that same association hold on of privileges that can be ascertained to stand for justice, but rather turn into inhuman to people that stood for the same justice and have it as a privilege to stand for that same association.
Prof, did you get that?
I don't know, I don't really understand. I mean, are you saying that in any respect you have seen the association stand for injustice? I don't understand the question. I'm not responsible for, and the association is not responsible for, but always takes steps to discipline any of its members caught in any act.
Hello? Well, I think we'll go to the next...
You can, if you interrogate...
Oh, it's still on.
I'm sure if you interrogate the leaders of that society, they will tell you of the series of trials and disciplinary actions taken against those who have been accused, the same way as you seem to imply, of acting improper, unjust, undignified, incorrect in any ethical way. You'll find that it's not condoned by the association. But you know, this is not, and I always tell our members this, never attempt to deny that there are bad eggs within the association. There's always at least one rotten egg in any basket. You know that's a fact of life. So you will probably have encountered something nasty from a member. It is possible. But believe me, if you take that, if you let the leadership of that organization know about it, you'll be satisfied with the steps which are taken by the association collectively. That I guarantee you.
Well, I will
It's not an order. I was asking you.
No, I agree that it's not an order. And you know, we have a mosaic of people in the audience. So when we are backing our bellows, when we reach the bellows, we back it at us and much more. So please back your bellows. I'm not giving you an order. I'm just saying you should go ahead with what you want to say.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take advantage of that.
Okay.
We spoke about technology and also, as you know, we've been very much concerned in the PC with human rights.
Yes.
It's because it's technology which enabled me, for instance, staying in Lagos, to be able to find ways of communicating in a freer and more comprehensive way with some of our citizens who are illegally detained in prison. One of them I want to use as introduction to the predicament of thousands, probably thousands of our citizens in prison at the moment. I have here, I don't know if your camera can zoom on this, it doesn't matter if you cannot, but the title of this leaflet here, which I brought with me, is A Prison Letter to a President by Mubarak Bala, and it has an introduction as well as a poem by Wole Soyinka. And this letter should have been delivered. It was written in June, smuggled out of prison, Kuje prison, and we printed copies of this. It was printed in June, but for reasons among personal political position vis-a-vis all the nonsense we have been going through, for the 2023 election, I didn't immediately deliberate because I just wanted the elections out of the way with the final decision by Supreme Court. That's, by the way, that's one also can take us another month discussion. But let's concentrate on Mubarak Bala. This young man, and we spoke about freedom of expression, which has been enabled by technology, the technology which has enabled transformation across the world, including, as I mentioned in Cairo, the so-called Arab Spring. So, because of this, thanks to this technology, I was able to get a copy of this letter, smuggled out, a prison letter to President Mubarak Bala. And in my introduction, I mentioned here that this young man, who declares himself an atheist, has been in prison for now pushing 2.5 to 3 years, imprisoned by a set of laws in a section of the country, laws which are not recognized or legitimized by the Constitution. In other words, we now have in Nigeria, and we've had for some time, of course, decrying this, there are different sets of criminality. I don't know when in Nigeria the Constitution said that atheism is criminal and can justify the imprisonment of an individual simply for expressing views on spirituality, on religion, whether in blog, whether on radio, whether in printed form. This is an abuse of power. And any president, any head of state who can lay claim to a constitutional authorization of his or her power and who permits this gross abuse within his jurisdiction is not living up to the mandate conferred upon him or her by any means, democratic, autocratic, dictatorial, it doesn't matter in the least. There's a responsibility to humanity and society.
Yes.
The longer that this young man stays in prison, the greater the ignominy with which this nation is regarded all over the world.
Thank you, Prof.
And there's only one solution to this, and this is a presidential authority for the release of this young man, and also the trial of those who put him in prison, including medical doctors who certified him as being insane, simply because he has declared the possibility of human existence outside a belief in a religion.
Very well.
So in case this letter has not reached the president through the channels, I'm presenting it here. And I'm saying that for any organization which is really looking for a meaningful, worthwhile cause for its very existence, for its origination, the vision of a group of young people over 50 years, I think nearly 60 years ago, I believe now, any group really looking for a mission is to dedicate its time to the predicament of people like this. Mubarak Bala is not alone. It's about time that the PC moved from beautiful rhetoric, generalized, however, mostly generalized. I'm not decrying or underestimating what the PC is achieving right now, but I'm talking about very urgent needs which speak to our very humanity that led to the creation of the Paris Confraternity. So that's it. Two things which forced me to bacchus my bellus.
Yes, thank you very much. You've backed your bellus.
Technology, the other, human rights as represented by Mubarak Bala.
Okay, great.